All right, y'all. So Sunday morning, bright and early. We've got another guest with us this morning. Hopefully, we can dive in and try and learn some stuff from. It's one of my ex-athletes. His name's Dylan Blankenbaker. Dylan grew up in South California before moving on to the University of Oklahoma, where him and I got to work together for a year. Dylan had several All-American finishes. I want to say two, correct?
Two.
Qualified for the national meet 4 or 5 times, had a lot of experience on the national level, finished as high as 7th, I believe, at USA's.
Yeah, 7th was my best at USA's.
He's ran professionally for a year, kind of chased the dream there for a little while before he married his college sweetheart. We'll call it that. Also an athlete on the track team, and then they settled down, and he's doing the working within cars now, right?
Selling cars. Yeah, so started selling cars 2 years ago, and then moved up, and now I'm in finance. So I'll do all the fun paperwork and talking to banks.
Yep. So he's diving into the professional world now after his running career is now ended. And Dylan was one of the toughest athletes I've had the ability to work with during my career. He always was able to just go to that dark place, like right when he needed to. Like right when he needed to. He always knew how. And I always admired you for that, Dylan. And I kind of wanted to dive in to how you learned how to do that, and maybe some of like the early lessons that you learned maybe in high school or maybe it was early college that kind of led you to that point to be able to kind of turn it off and on when you needed to. You're so good at it.
I don't know if I was ever able to turn it off, to be honest. Like I was really lucky growing up and in high school where it was a really interesting mix of like people that I was able to surround myself with, of people that were driven and worked hard. And now all of my high school teammates are professionals in something, accounting, different sales and engineering, whatever. And so I was able to learn from them, but also I was able to teach them as well. I think it all just stemmed from just being super, super competitive, where I think it was just about everything that I did. I had some sort of competitiveness within me, just my personality in general. I was always really competitive, but it's definitely a learned skill that it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always that I had great workouts or that I could tough it out through, nagging foot pain or, just having a bad day or just a long day at school. It was that, I learned how to show up to practice, show up to whatever I was doing, and get into that mind frame of I'm here to accomplish something in work. And, I think when we started working together, it became, no matter what goes on during that practice, during that session, during that easy run, there's always something to accomplish. And even if the splits don't go right, even if you don't do the amount of reps you had the goal set out to, you're still getting some sort of exposure to whatever you're trying to do. So, I mean, it was,
not so much a switch then. So the competitive part never allowed you to let off the gas, so to speak. You always wanted more. But the managing of the situation, you're saying, was really what took it to the next level.
It was being able to have not even when just walking through those track doors, walking into the locker room, it was okay. Now it's time to work, and now it's time to not be funny and silly. And not that you can't have fun at practice, because you and I both know that we did, but it was, there is something to accomplish, and that supersedes anything else. So if you are having a bad day, you're having a long day at school, fighting with your girlfriend, having drama with friends, able to use, for me, I was able to use running as a way to, shut all those things out and, really hone in on what I was doing.
Yeah. So where do you think, like, you had confidence obviously in your ability, like early on, and I'm kind of rewinding back to kind of what projected you to where you ended up. right? Because I always like to ask those types of questions with elites. Is like, where was that moment where your trajectory as an athlete kind of adjusted? And you know what I mean? It's like 1 degree difference, 6 year over the course of 6 years turns into the difference between All-American and just another guy on the team. And I kind of like to think about, you know, those little adjustments or those moments in time when you realize something. Like, was there ever like an epiphany for you there? Was there ever, or who was able to give that to you, or did you just kind of have that growing up? Or
I was always somebody who, I mean, like in school, for instance, like I just didn't get good grades because I just got them. And like I said, I went to class. Like I really had to like work, and it was even into college. And even in athletics in high school, like I definitely understand that I was very naturally talented and had some natural gifts and just, you know, my anatomy. But it was something that I knew that I needed to work at. And I loved working at it. I'm someone that loves working hard and show up to, you know, to accomplish a task. And, you know, I want to be the best just because I think from being young, I was very competitive. But I think once I got to college, I had a moment where I was like, I am a drop in the bucket of talent. And there's some real talented people. Cause I got to school thinking I just got second at state. I, you know, was one of the top few guys in the country. You know, I just got, I think 10th at NXN. And I was like, nobody can touch me.
You're special.
I'm the guy coming in. I'm special.
Yeah.
And then I get to school and I'm talking to the guys like, oh yeah, I mean, really haven't run a whole lot this summer. I haven't, you know, I was just kind of hanging around with my friends and, you know, going on trips and whatever. And then we go run like, and I'd worked my butt off all summer and, you know, get to school and we just have a normal conversation on a 10-mile run. And I'm like, if I took 2 days off, I can't run 10 miles. Like, how are you just casually going out here? And then we'd go work out and I'd be at the back of the pack huffing and puffing. Like, oh, and then it was like, oh man, like I thought I worked hard, but like, this is another level. And, you know, then it became, okay, if doing the minimum effort, showing up to practice and doing the workouts is not enough for me to be the best. Okay, what else do I have to do? How do I cross that line? How do I get to that next level? And it took 3 years probably. It was really my 4th year of college that actually that caught up to, you know, actually paying off because, you know, once my sophomore year came around, okay, I started eating right, started sleeping, started, you know, taking care of my body, stretching, you know, all that other little stuff. And then I was still just the guy in the second group. And it hadn't really paid off until I think junior year, where it was like, I finally had all of those things clicking for me. And then in workouts, it became going to that dark place of knowing that like, okay, here's the goal for the workout today. And like, yeah, that sounds crazy, but gotta try. And then it became where I was fit enough to where in races, it was like, okay, well, I'm not just the guy trying to hang on for dear life. Like I can actually like be involved in the outcome of this race. And so.
Yeah. So it sounds like the moment for you was getting to college and just seeing the talent that's out there. Like you said, the day you realized I'm a drop in the bucket, like, just being me isn't enough anymore. I got to actually start. I can't allow talent to dictate the sport that I want to be competitive in.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm going to have to, you know, nurture my own talent and take my own body to the next level in order to match this new. And I can remember, I know I've told you this before, but the most talented athlete I've ever trained with was Shadrach Sangak at Texas A&M when I was there in college. And the dude, just like you said, hadn't run a step all summer. The first time trial we did as a team, I think I beat him by 45 seconds over 4 miles. And I was thinking like, dude, I'm hot stuff. And then he came back and I think he beat me in the first race 3 weeks later by a minute, ran like 23:20. You know,
that's crazy.
Beat Galen Rupp in the 10K off 35, 40 miles a week. And you go, oh my God, when you see talent like that for the first time, you have to make some decisions like, am I going to be a player? Well, I got to get to work, right?
I mean, it's realizing that, yes, God gave you some natural anatomy gifts, but he gave somebody else a lot more.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't give them the competitiveness that I have. Maybe the internal drive just isn't there. And, that's why they're like that. And, you can use, I mean, I think everybody has the ability to tap into something in their head that gets you to that next level. I mean, it doesn't translate to only athletics. And that's the crazy thing is I thought when I stopped running that like, I'm going to just be this lost little puppy that doesn't know what to do because I have no competitive outlet. But I mean, getting into working, my paycheck depended on me being aggressive, me being the guy out there every day. And, me moving up in a company meant me being the guy that showed up every day, that got stuff done, had a good attitude, and, listened to the people around me. And I think that's a huge thing that I was able to have as I had, I had you and I had Coach Dunn there. That was just two people that I understood were very knowledgeable in the sport and had great experience and had great people around them. And that if I could just take in everything that I could and learn as much as I could be really good. And so I got really lucky with the people that I had around me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it. I mean, to say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Sure.
So it's like pick those 5 people wisely, right? And
right.
Something you said that kind of went along with that adjustment you said you made. When you saw that talent, you're like, oh crap, I got to start doing things right. You also said that led to doing some things you didn't thought were possible in workouts as kind of a byproduct. Yeah, going, oh crap, I gotta close the gap somehow. What were some of those workouts that you can remember? What were some times when you really took a leap of faith?
I mean, one of the ones from college I remember is when we went out to we always called it the Bentley roads, but it was just this long dirt road, just crushed gravel. And we were so anybody who doesn't know how we started at OU, he was a guy that I'd never heard of and didn't know who he was. And we get this email, hey, first practice is going to be at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is not going to fly. So but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, he's the guy that this $1 billion school has chosen as the one to lead us. So I guess I better listen. So we show up and we go do our thing, and we have our couple practices and we get to know each other, and maybe 2-3 weeks in, and we drive out to Bentley, and you go, okay, well, we're going to do 10 miles. I'm like, okay, that's not a big deal. And we're going to run tempo, and I want you to average about 5:10 pace. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This is impossible. Like, this is the dumbest guy I've ever seen in my life. Who does he know, like, who we are? Like, we're in freaking college.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to get 7 guys to run 5-minute pace for 5 miles. Yeah. Like, what are we going to do out here on this hilly road?
Yeah.
I don't even know how cold it was, but it was cold for me. And it was, if you've ever been in Oklahoma, it's windy all the time.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, whatever, don't question the guy. He's here for a reason. Let's just do it. So, I mean, I know that I can get through 5 miles at 5:10 pace. Okay, I can do that. So we start the workout and we go. And go through, and I'm like, okay, I can get to 5 miles. So I get to 5 miles and we're at 5:10 pace. And I'm like, no, that's too bad. And get turned around. So, well, I mean, I can get to 7 at this point. And then it's like at that point, I start thinking, okay, this is actually really hard, and this is not going to go well. This is going to suck. Like, this is going to be embarrassing. Like, I'm this new guy. I'm the top guy on the team. I'm the 5th-year senior. Like, I'm supposed to be the one that's like heading this up. And so then it's like, okay, well, I got to 7 miles and I'm still on pace and I'm still doing the workout. So I'm feeling all right. It's pretty hard at this point. Well, I can get to this point. I can get to 7.5. can get to 8, and I can get to 9. And then, it's at that point, it's like, well, now I've got this far, like I can get it at this point. But it's like knowing that if you at least attempt something, it's crazy that's what can happen. When running, I started running the steeplechase, like my first year, my sophomore year, I didn't think breaking 9 minutes was like a possibility or even in the cards. And then you do it. And then I don't think I ever ran over 9 minutes again after that.
Right.
And so it's at least attempting. I think that's the crazy part about anything that you do in life is at least giving yourself a shot. And because you can fail before you even do the warm up. Because if you don't think you can do it, if you get in a bad headspace, and that's the part about running, is especially distance running, is you have a long time to think about it. And you have a long time to psych yourself out about it. And if you at least just give yourself a shot and maybe just reset every few minutes of a workout or even each rep or whatever, you can make some crazy stuff happen. And so, I mean, after that, like when I got out of school and was training, I was training with Terrence, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do a 10-mile tempo. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that now.
Sweet.
And we're gonna do it on the road. And it's gonna be in flat. It's gonna be in San Diego on Coronado Island, the flattest road of all time. And I was like, oh, easy. Like I can do that.
Yeah, no problem.
And because I'd done it before. And so it's just crazy. It's crazy the things that you can do once you just give yourself a shot.
Well, and I wouldn't undersell that either. And that's something else that you had, I said going to that dark place, but also kind of having that ability to give yourself a chance. Like that's huge, man. That is so huge to look at a session on paper and go, truly believe like this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, but I'm going to send it anyway. Like we'll just see. And like you said, I'm going to take it 1 mile at a time. Yeah. What could happen? Like, okay, like I blow up, so what? But to give yourself a chance. And to give yourself a chance, in races and in training to maybe it works out, to take that leap of faith. And you had only known me for a couple of weeks, like you said, and that speaks more to your mental fortitude than it does for anything I could have done with you in that amount of time. You didn't even show up fit.
No,
that was just you giving yourself a chance, and it's like, man, like how do people learn that? Because it is a skill, like being aware of what you're thinking in that moment of severe stress. And then, like you said, resetting, giving yourself a chance to charge ahead. Like how do you learn that over? Like it takes time, but like
it does. I think for me, I mean, so I always grew up a fan of all kinds of sports and action sports and thinking like, I grew up riding motorcycles. So it was like when I remember Travis Pastrana did the double backflip. I was like, how cool is that? Yeah. And there's sort of some things in my life where like that 10 miler, I remember thinking, this is crazy and this is probably not going to work, but let's give it a shot. Cause how freaking cool would that be?
Yeah.
Like how cool is if I could run 5:10 for 10 miles? I've never done that before. I never even touched it. Like how cool would that be? So, I mean, it's a little bit of why not? I mean, if it's not possible, if I don't do it and I blow up and I'm the best guy on the team and it doesn't work for me, like, I make the new guy look like an idiot. But it's like, oh man, this is dumb. This is dumb. But it was like, it worked though. And we were both really stoked about it afterward. And it was like, how cool was that? Like we just made something, I just did something I didn't know if I could do. I had never touched it before. Yeah. So it was like, it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, then, you're saying Pastrana doing that double back for the first time. Like, you've seen the videos of him practicing that on mats and then on ramps at home. And then, how many times he failed before finally, landing it in competition. And it's like, dude, you can't forget about that.
No. And I mean, like, I think about how many, like, in the years leading up to my first All-American, like, how many horrible, horrible days I had. How bad my feet hurt, how bad my back hurt. I mean, just how many horrible days, like how many failed workouts. But I failed all those workouts and then did the next one and still came to practice and still came to work out the next day, not fail again. Yeah. I mean, like it wasn't like I was functioning at a pretty high level my senior year when we were working together. Yeah. But it wasn't without any sort of, distractions or hiccups.
You
remember my back, I couldn't bend over spring break of my senior year.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what I did. I think I was showing off in the weight room. I think we were doing like single leg squats.
Probably you and Calvin.
Yeah. And I threw my back out. I couldn't bend over.
Yeah.
And then we were going to Arizona where it's going to be so hot and to stay hydrated. And, even though like that trip was to, relax and, work out and be in the nice weather, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like I was, that was like where the headspace I was in at that point. Cause I'd done it for so long and practiced about just being able to control my environment and being really have just great self-control of myself, that like I was in Tucson, I was in Tempe, Arizona, beautiful weather, all kinds of fun stuff to do. And I think I hung out in my hotel room because it was cool and I had water.
Yeah.
Because I needed my back. Cause like, if I couldn't fix my back, I was done. I was going to be, it was the only thing I could think about.
Looking back, like, at your high school self, you weren't without talent, and mostly, we got a lot of high school kids listening in right now. So I like to kind of ask questions that maybe give them little pearls of wisdom. But is there anything you'd want to tell yourself?
I'm somebody that looks back and appreciates everything that has happened, because I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have a great job. I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't, have met you and met the people in my life and all that kind of stuff. So like, I'm never one to look back and say, man, I wish I would have changed that, because that would have been so much better.
Right.
But, I think about like the people that I was around, and I'm just really grateful. I think if I could have changed anything.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily changed anything, but just like, if you could just, you know what I mean? Like, tell yourself, hey man, like you are good enough. It's going to be hard. Just anything like that, like something like that.
I wish I could have learned that quicker, because it was always inside of me. It was always, I was able to, I was always able to be that mentally strong and person that, can, make myself go to that. We call it go to that dark place, that dark hole, which is not a dark place. It's really just clearing your distractions to get to like a singular goal.
Yeah.
But, it was, I think if I could have, maybe learned that a little quicker and, not been a little so arrogant, I think, as a senior, and had some humility, that I probably would have learned it a little quicker.
Yeah.
And, it's not to say that you don't need a little bit of blind confidence as a runner, because, if you have some blind confidence, then you can do things you don't expect.
Right.
But it's a balance of, blind confidence in your ability versus, just the mental toughness and ability to just put out any distractions and focus on what you're doing.
Yeah. 100%, man. I feel like having just confidence in your ability. Like we talk about confidence a lot with the kids that I work with, and just the idea that confidence it's actually originates as a thought and then kind of becomes an emotion. But it originates as the idea of like, hey, I eat right, I sleep well, I run every step, I try and hit my paces, I keep myself accountable. I've done all these things. And then like, now I am confident in all the work that I'm doing. And then that projects out into the emotion of feeling confident on race day, and so it's like, it's earned, right? And you earn that from yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you have that confidence, like you're talking, the blind confidence, or just the confidence in like, hey, I am good enough, whether it's earned or blind, either way, you're able to go out and just make, take attempts at things fearlessly. And I feel like, if you fail, you also shouldn't lose that confidence. Like, it's not like, hey, all the work that you've done goes away. It's like, no, you failed.
Yeah.
So what? Like, this is, this is part of it,
Yeah. I mean, I think that internal self-talk is really important. You get up and you go do your run. You come back from your run, you eat right, you stretch, you do all those things so that you have that, you have that positive affirmation in what you've done. And if you're cognizant of those things that you're doing, and you're doing things with intent, you can get to the line on race day and be like, okay, I did my workouts, I did my easy runs, I took care of myself, I slept right, I ate right, there's no reason that this should go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where my confidence came from, is, it's like I was able to really tell myself once I got to that point where, I was doing all those things and being cognizant of what I was doing, I was really able to have that positive self-talk and really that affirmation in myself. I was like, yeah. And even on big workouts, like, yeah, I did everything I could to make this go the best I could.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't without, missteps. It wasn't without failure. It wasn't without staying up late and studying, but everything that I could control, I controlled. And I think that's where a lot of my confidence and my ability to tap into, my mental ability to focus.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
Yeah, that was a topic of pretty heated discussion we had a week or two ago with some of the kids. Yeah, we were getting into it, man. That we, I think a lot of people mistake confidence as an emotion, when really it can be developed, earned, and learned. You know, like you keep saying, a lot of this stuff was a skill. Like running at an elite level. Yeah, took some nurturing. A lot of it was a skill set. So. Yeah,
we talk about this is, all of these skills don't just work in running.
Yeah.
It's life. And, all of these different things translate outside of running, where it's like, I wish I could have told, some of my high school teammates or some of my college teammates of like, hey, like, these skills don't just work here. Like, if you want to be successful, you want to be a doctor, accountant, whatever, like, all of these skills, like, translate into those things
directly.
Like, I didn't lose that when I started selling cars, like, or getting into finance. Like, it's the same thing when I go talk to a customer of like, I studied the product, I know what I'm doing, I know how to control my environment, and pretty successful at it. Yeah. So, I mean, it works all different kinds of ways.
Yeah. You hear that as an athlete and you go, yeah, okay, sure, coach, but really until you get out and I don't know if you've seen other athletes, but I've seen, 10 years of athletes go on to just be absolute killers in the business world. That also were very dedicated athletes, and you go, there's no coincidence here.
Yeah. But like, the thing is like, you think of getting into schools like Isabel. Yeah. Getting the dental hygiene school. Yeah. She talks to her professors afterwards, after she's she's almost done now. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, we saw you were an athlete and we knew we wanted you. Yeah. I mean, there's the same, I interviewed for this finance job, and the GM was like, oh, you were an athlete. Like, didn't ask if I was any good. Yeah. Didn't ask like if I did anything special. He was like, oh, you're an athlete. Like, we're talking, like, what is it about like athletics that, you think transfers into this, or, what skills did you learn as an athlete? And it's like, they wanted that because they know that, athletes are cognizant and can, and think about the things that they do can translate into so many different aspects of life.
These people that have this skill set, and the people that don't, like you're saying, that are aimless out there in the world, it's like, part of me wonders, like, did they ever have the discipline to find themselves, like, to know what they want? I don't know. There's something to, like, go into that dark place where you have to sit there and think about this. Why the hell am I doing this? And then finding a reason to continue on, and finding the next thing to strive you, or finding the thing that motivates you. Like, what gets you out the door, man? That's different for every person at different times of year. And it's like, you get out of sports and you get into the workplace, like, well, I know how to motivate myself. I know how to make myself do things that I don't want to do. And I know how to win, and I'm competitive. And it's like, man, do you know yourself until you've conquered that? And as an athlete, you get that chance every single day to go out there and take a stab at it. And you would hope that over 6-8 years, come out better for it.
That's the lesson, I think, that of athletics is like, you can do something and have that mentality and accomplish something tangible. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think some people that don't learn that in athletics or something, they get out in the world and they're aimless. Yeah. And, now that I'm out in, real life and have a big boy job, like, I don't have like tangible goals to reach in the business world of like, oh, I'm going to get an award for this. I'm going to get a trophy at the end of this. I'm going to get a contract or whatever. It's like, I get a paycheck. I get to pay my mortgage. Yeah. And I get to drive a nice truck, and my wife drives a car, and, it's all this kind of stuff, all these things that, like, you don't think about being achievements, but it's like, I can go out to eat and not have to worry about it. And that's something as a high schooler you don't think about, but once you get past about 25, you think about that stuff. You're like, dang, do I have $20? Like, as a high school kid, I never thought about that. I was like, oh yeah, there's food in the pantry. Like, I'm good. But I didn't think about where it came from. And you know, now that like I'm the one that has to cut the check. It's like, okay, yeah, that's why I work hard. So I don't have to think about that $20 coming out. You know, we can go have fun. We can take a day off. And so there's a lot of stuff there, but it's still a tangible goal.
Definitely. Well, Dylan, I think we pretty much got into some good stuff there. That's about yeah, dude. I'll have to have you on again sometime.
Love it.
Sweet. Well, maybe we'll get Belle involved. Belle's his wife, also a miler. So maybe we'll get her involved next time.
Much more intelligent conversation with her. She's a lot smarter than me.
She'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Happy to hear you said that.
I gotta score some points where I can.
There you go. A little bonus points. Good deal.